truth is, life is hard, and we all suck miserably at times. Some would call that negative self-talk, but I call it honesty. It's the human condition, and we need to learn how to embrace it so we can grow and be better tomorrow. Most of the time, all it takes is a little awareness, a fresh perspective, and an understanding that sometimes life is what it is, but it is always what you make it. I'm Missy Hart, your host and guide to practical spirituality and being better. It's time to inhale some good shit and exhale the bullshit. Let's go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to some Friday morning good shit. I'm your host, Missy Hart, and I am hot. Just backstage. I'm in the middle of a hot flash, and I'm freaking myself out because and we were just talking about being sweaty and having, do you guys remember those old Saturday Night Live skits, the sweaty balls? Yeah, that's what we were just playing around with backstage. Absolutely hilarious. I'm roasting. Who else is going through this crap? Like, it's a constant, I don't know. I'm just constantly hot these days, and it's driving me nuts. And if anybody has really good tips, you can leave those down in the comments for me. I was already told to, like, stick my head in the freezer. It's only going to work for so long. So if someone's got some good tips, post those below. I'm sure myself and plenty of other people are going to, use those and see what works. So today on the Good Shit Joe, we are going to be talking about the all-powerful emotions, right? And how very important they are. And we have a lot of messaging that comes at us all of the time from different outlets, basically. The spiritual community is definitely one of them, where it's all about love and light all of the time. And I'm here to call a little bit of bullshit on that, because life just is not all love and light all the time, and that's not wrong. And so we really do need to be able to, right, embrace the more negative parts to this lifetime and then more negative parts to ourselves. It's one of those, like, if we can't see the negative parts, how can we possibly fix the negative parts? So it is so important to at least be aware of them. So this conversation is actually going to start with energy and vibes, one of my favorite topics, one of my favorite things to talk about. And we're just going to spin it today into your own personal energy and your own personal vibes, which really is just how you feel. And it is really important to understand that your emotions and your vibes change all of the time. They change with the people that you're around. They change based on the places that you're at. You might have a perfectly pleasant vibe, and you might feel really great at home, but when you get out into the world and out into public, maybe your vibe changes to anxious, right? Anxious is totally an emotional state of being. People can feel other people's nerves, right? So, like, when we're looking at emotions, like I said, it is essentially, that is your energy and the vibe that you're carrying. There is a whole wide range of emotions. So you could be someone walking around in a really happy mood, and you're like totally pushing out this very positive vibe. You could be feeling very grateful. You could be full of joy. You could be full of love in your heart, and you're pushing that out, and the people around you can feel it. I mean, they're going to soak that in like a sponge, and it's absolutely amazing. Now, on the flip side of that, if you're walking around and you are feeling anxious, like I just said, people are going to pick up on those anxious vibes. People are if you're in a bad mood, they're going to feel your crappy vibe. If you're sad, or if you're grieving, or what, they're going to feel that. If you're desperate, people are going to feel that. Do you know how many people, like, I mean, hello guys, I'm a psychic, so I work with relationship stuff quite often. And so this is like just a super energy, like, or super little interesting spin into energy, is that we have women who are desperate to be in a relationship. Now, this could certainly happen with men too, so it didn't mean to just say women per se, but, you know, people who are desperate to get into a relationship, usually that acts like a 10-foot freaking pole. And these people are not going to find the relationship that they're looking for, because there is a vibe that's being put out that I don't know, maybe puts some creep vibes up for somebody or whatever. Or if it's just the fact that, what you're putting out there, if you're putting out a desperate kind of a something, the universe is going to respond and give you things to be desperate about, right? So it's just an interesting one. Being aware of the energy and your vibe and your state of being and your different emotions from place to place, person to person, thing to thing is really important. How do you feel when you're at home? How do you feel around people? What places seem to set off your senses in a more negative kind of a way? And I love the example of Walmart versus Target. They're two completely different places. Walmart has a vibe, Target has a vibe. So when you walk into Walmart and you're soaking in the Walmart vibes, how do you feel? If you're walking into Target and you're soaking in the Target vibes, how do you feel? And they truly are different. Walmart gives me the heebie jeebies. Every time I go there, I just have this horrible like anxiety. And it's not like I don't like the store. I mean, I go there for a whole lot of stuff. So I go there often, actually. And Target, the vibe is just completely different, right? And how I feel within that place, because the vibe of the space is what it is, that I'm kind of soaking that in. You guys ever notice that? Like, you go somewhere in that atmosphere, you're responding to the atmosphere of the places that you go. Some people, like, you go to the hospital and the atmosphere of a hospital is sick and, death and dying and all of these things. And a lot of people have a very hard time being in a hospital type of a setting. They feel like, their skin is crawling, the rooms are getting smaller, closing in on them. They're very uncomfortable there because it has an atmosphere, it has a vibe. So now, just because we get a negative kind of a vibe in a place doesn't actually make it all bad. So like hospitals, there's a little bit of trickery going on there because there's actually really good things that happen in hospitals. As much as they are places of very bad things, they're also places of healing. So like maybe if you're one of those people who struggle with the whole, hospital kind of a setting, you can kind of look at things a little bit different and shift that perspective. That's always so very important to shift that perspective a little bit to, some guy having a life saving operation that morning, or babies being born right down the hallway, or whatever. Try to focus on the things that are like a little more feel good about that space, and you're going to watch that your energy and how you're feeling about it is going to shift ever so slightly. And a lot of the times that subtle shift, that ever so slight shift in how we look at things is going to change the feeling so much that it's going to shift your vibe and it's going to shift how you're feeling. So again, this community of love and light that is just a constant, right? I see it all the time. Like, we just need to be focused on love. Everything's about love and all that stuff. And like I said, it's good messaging. It's just unrealistic. And so many people, work so hard to try to get into this super positive space all the time. They walk around kind of feeling shitty because they're not feeling that love and that joy and all of those good things all of the time. So what exactly do we do about that? First of all, we become aware of why it is that we're feeling that way. Like I said, it's going to change from person to person, place to place, thing to thing. So if you're around Joe and Joe doesn't make you feel good, and Joe's like bringing out your bad vibes, then you kind of need to look at, like, well, why is that? What about Joe, or what about me? Is this, am I responding to something that Joe did in the past? Does Joe remind me of someone that kind of pushed some of my buttons in the past? Is there just something going on? So trying to figure out why Joe, and this is just a fictitious name, there is no like Joe for me, but like figuring out the whys behind that would be your most productive mood rather than, trying to just keep on rolling with it. It's really, you can't, again, you can't fix things unless you're in that space that you can see them. And when you understand that you're soaking in other people's energy and the energy of the atmosphere around you, then you can shift your entire being. You can shift it. And we all want to feel good. We all want to feel better. So if we're carrying around negative emotion, we don't feel good. Why? So why do you carry around these negative emotions? First of all, it's a sign. Yeah, a ton of people, oh, I'm looking for a sign. And I'm like, well, how do you feel about XYZ? Well, I'm not feeling so good about XYZ. Well, then that's your sign. Your sign is you're not feeling good about that and you should listen to it. I believe that our emotions have been given to us as basically this inner guidance system. It is a radar. Um, it is a little voice, right? Nothing grabs your attention more than emotions, to be honest with you. When you're angry, you can freaking feel it. So there really are attention grabbers. So if something is bringing out a negative emotion, what's trying to grab your attention? If you're not feeling good about something, again, it's a sign. Now, you have to discern if that sign is you getting in your own way, which does happen, and it happens all the time, or should you really be staying away from XYZ? So now this is where being self-aware, again, I preach this all the time, your awareness of yourself is everything. If you don't know why something is making you feel that way, well, then you can fix it. Again, I mean, I think I've already said that like 10 times this morning. It's only 10 after 9, and I've said it like a bunch. Is the most important part. I know the things that don't feel good to me, and I know my reaction to normal life. So I do have an anxiety issue. I have a panic issue, right? So, like, when COVID hit, I'll just use this as an example. My anxiety is like totally centered around health and stuff, and it always it's always been a huge part of my anxiety, is like worried that there's something wrong with me. Well, anxiety makes you feel like shit. It actually messes with your heart rate, then in turn messes with your breathing. It messes with your entire hormonal composition. So basically, why wouldn't you feel like shit if you're an anxiety sufferer? And so I essentially had to learn those triggers. I had to learn the triggers of the anxiety. And I unfortunately found now there were exterior and external triggers. If my kids got sick, I, of course, had anxiety because I did not want to get their sickness, especially if they were puking. It's like the worst thing on the planet for me. It's like barfing. That is an actual phobia that I have, right? And so when COVID hit, I was in a space of, I knew that I could totally lose my shit and take a whole lot of steps back into a very negative, anxiety ridden state. And I did not want to do that. I had to force myself to look at good things. I had to force myself to put my phone down and turn off the TV so I wasn't looking at the ticker tape every 24 or every second of every day. I had to really be proactive in controlling the way that I was feeling and what my focus was on, because I know myself. Again, I know my triggers. The other thing, with just anxiety in general, which you didn't really plan on talking about. However, anxiety is one of those things where your body will memorize what it is to feel like crap, right? So every single day, your body will go, oh, it'll like settle into a time. And I had a full-on panic disorder. So every day about 8:30 in the morning, I would have just an awful panic attack. And it was crazy because I would be sitting here having coffee with my mother or my husband and just, having a normal day. And out of the clear blue sky, my heart would go nuts and I would just be in panic mode. It was terrible. And it basically, my body was kind of working on its own crazy time clock where it was like, oh, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:15 in the morning, 8:30, time to panic. And my body would just like make the panic hormones like adrenaline and cortisol and all of the crazy stuff to make me feel like a bucket of crap. And it did it every day like clockwork. And so, sometimes when you're in that like anxiety kind of a space, or if you're in a depressive kind of a space, you're going to have to do things, again, very proactively, that are going to shift those chemicals and shift those hormones. If your body is making adrenaline and cortisol every day, you want to like replace that with something different so you're not thrown into panic mode. If you're someone who is, again, like living with depression, again, the chemicals, your body will self-sabotage you like over and over and over again. The body gets so used to making the same like hormones. Like I said, it could be cortisone or cortisol. It could be adrenaline, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. It's going to, create whatever it creates. And most of that is actually based on how you feel. So if you're depressed and you're feeling sad and you're, not having a lot of people who are depressed just really don't want to do much, or they're very moody. They're just feeling sad all the time. They, talk about the chemical imbalance. Well, that is, of course, based on the chemicals that your brain is making. If you can force yourself to feel a little bit different for a little bit of time, what's going to happen is that your body is going to actually create different chemicals, and it's going to shift how you're feeling. And that is essentially what is going to pull you out of whatever funk you're in. Depression, very specifically, is usually living in a past state, whereas anxiety is a little more forward facing. So depression is usually all the shit back there, all the stuff back there that has happened, or the things that we didn't want to deal with because we like to stuff things down and not, face our emotional self. Because again, so many people have it in their head that emotions are bad, when in fact, your emotions come to the surface so you can see them and so you can fix them and move into a space that feels better. So this ignoring negative emotions or trying to force yourself to feel good when you don't is honestly, in my brain and in my experience, very counterproductive. It's not really working. If you're anxious, and like I said, it's a little more forward facing. If you're walking around worried that bad things could happen to you every day, all day, it's going to induce just a crazy state of fear. For what? For nothing. For nothing that's happening in your immediate life. It's going to create this tenseness, and it's going to, you know, reverberate out into the people around you. It's so crazy how people are able to look at like your kids. I know when I was going through my panic and anxiety stuff, my kids were really young, and I remember them responding to my mood. Like you watch, like, my entire vibe, my entire energy is what the household would be that day. And unfortunately, my anxiety, it was a panic disorder. It was not even just anxiety. It was full on panic mode every day, all day well, it did not start there. It started off with just like your occasional kind of anxiety, right? An occasional panic attack, but always feeling tense. And then it turned into, I was having one massive panic attack every day, all day for weeks straight, where I legit could not walk from this room into the next room without my heart rate going up so high. And when I say high, I mean like in the 200s. When I finally had my husband take me to the hospital, my heart rate when I got there was like in the mid 250s. They they ran me back into the back so fast and had me hooked up to every single monitor that there was to watch me, thinking that I was having a heart attack. And I was just so fortunate to get a doctor who came in. And I did not want to mention that I had anxiety. I didn't know. I had never been diagnosed. I'd gone to doctors low key for a little while. And it was always like, they tried to medicate me. It's so funny now that I think about it. They tried, and I was like, I didn't want it. And I was kind of angry. Like, you're not looking at anything physical at all. Like, I remember like wanting them to check out my body. I wanted them to run tests because I truly believed that I was really sick and I was broken. Like, that is honestly like what was in my head. There's something wrong with me. I have a tumor somewhere. My heart's bad. My lungs, just something. It was something. And so I get this doctor who was like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to look at? Because of course I'm hooked up to all the monitors. Everything looks okay outside of my heart rate being super high. And I, said, well, I want a chest x-ray, and I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And she's like, that sounds reasonable. And so she did those things for me. It was so sweet. She spent so much time with me. And she finally looked at me and she asked me if I had anxiety. And I was like, well, maybe I think I might. And she, you know, took the time to really explain it and say, your body is quite responsible for this. Like, this isn't all your fault. Your body at some point is just kind of working against you here. And she talked me into taking a little pill that I did not want to take. I wanted to be able to be present for my kids, and I was so afraid that I was going to feel weird, right? And I mean, as if now that I think about how stupid that is, how dumb was that? Because I was not feeling good. Anyway, so I'm at home, freaking out, even just being at home, safe in my home, taking care of my kids, and I'm still panicking. Anyway, so I basically finally conceded and took this little pill, and it wound up being a very life-changing thing for me. If you feel that you are struggling with anxiety and depression and things like that, go and get help. Honestly, go and get help and make somebody hear you and make them, help you. But at the end of the day, you're really going to have to help yourself out of that, because I never knew where the anxiety was coming from until I just heard my brain one day, and my brain was not being nice to myself. My brain was, it's so funny because on the outside, I was a very positive person. So it was all like, the airy, fairy, lovey stuff, which is what we're talking about today. Out of my mouth were all of these very positive, light and love things. Nobody was more positive than me. But on the inside, whoa, I was batshit crazy negative. I was not full of love and light. I was not full of anything. I was actually full of fear. I was tired. The anxiety was partially there because I was giving, and not giving anything to myself, as most moms do. I mean, I was a young mother. I had 3 young kids at home. I had, 2 still in diapers. I was still doing bottles and, all that stuff. And so I'm giving 24/7, and I'm not putting anything good back into myself. So that was certainly something that started the ball rolling to something worse. And then I kind of ignored it, and I wanted to do everything on my own. And while I thought that I was busy every day, because I had 3 kids, I had to cook, I had to clean, I had to take care of my kids, play with my kids, do all the stuff. When I heard the negative thoughts, I actually figured out that I could be very busy all day long and be very productive all day long. And my brain was in overdrive thinking very negative thoughts. How does that happen? Right? How can you be very busy and your brain doing that? Because if your brain's not busy, then your brain is just going to wander away with itself, and it's going to do what it does. It's going to think. The brain thinks. It's what it does. There's constant movement happening in the brain. I'm not a very good meditator in the sense that I can't shut my brain off. There's always a thought getting in there about something. It doesn't have to be like a terrible thing, but damn, that shit never stops. So if your brain is not busy, then your brain is doing what it does. And a lot of the time, it's crazy, we're on autopilot. We've memorized our entire day. We don't need to think about how to throw this casserole together or how to mop the floor. It's basically like, oh, what am I going to cook tonight? And then we just do what we do because we've done it 100 times over. We don't have to think about mopping the floor. The thought is literally, oh, I'm going to mop this floor. Our brain isn't like at work trying to figure out how to mop. It's not trying to figure out how to give the kids a bath. It knows how to give the kids a bath, right? So like I'm externally very busy. I'm washing the kids, I'm scrubbing the floor, I'm cooking dinner, but my mind was not distracted at all. And so what happened, my mind got completely away from me, and it was doing its own thing. And damn, that sucker was negative. You would think that like your brain would be a super positive kind of a powerhouse place. It is not. It is the deceiver. Your head is bad. Your brain, I'm telling you, not good unless you force it to be good. So if you're someone with anxiety or, whatever, number one, start with awareness. This is for everyone, not just anxiety. Awareness is everything. You have to be aware of the things that you're thinking because it's going to drive how you're feeling. It's what we're talking about today is the emotions and the power of it. So within the power of the emotions and the thoughts that I was having, was driving an emotion. Those emotions were based in fear because my brain was feeding me fearful shit. My brain was telling me there's something wrong with you. You're going to die. You're going to leave your kids. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. My brain was telling me my kids were going to get hurt when they went out. My brain was telling me all sorts of really bad stuff. right? My brain was telling me we weren't going to have enough money. We weren't going to do this. We weren't going to do that. My brain was feeding me a whole lot of crap. And then I would feel like crap, essentially, right? So whatever I'm thinking is making me feel a certain kind of a way. And then that feeling, what? It's sent to actual points in the body, like hormone receptors in the body, which then signals back to the brain. And the brain is like, shit, she's freaking out. We need to make some adrenaline. We better get some cortisol for this woman's stat. And it would start to create all of these chemicals that would eventually induce a panic attack. And because I did it so often, for so long, it just turned into a normal chemical response that was happening within my body. And so at some point, I had to come to the realization that I was causing my own panic attacks based on the shit that I was thinking and how I was feeling and all of those things. My brain was not distracted. I was busy. My brain was not busy. So one of the ways that I actually got out of my anxiety spell and panic spell was games. It sounds so stupid, but we complicate these things so much. Like, I mean, I was having issues and I knew I was having issues. Believe me, I tried to meditate. Believe me, I tried to take like Epsom salt baths and, do all of these things only to find that, my brain was not a comfortable place to be. So, like, sitting and meditating and trying to quiet the brain only made me think about things like a little bit more. It was so counterproductive. And it's not that meditation is bad. Just like when you're in that state of being, meditation may not be the greatest place to start. And so, what really helped me out a ton were games. I had to distract my brain, not shut it off. I couldn't shut it off, right? If you can, kudos to you. I don't know many people who can. Not good. Not for long periods of time. Not enough to really give yourself the break that you need when you're in that kind of a cycle. And so it was stupid stuff like word find books or crossword puzzles or, like those find the picture things. I used to have those games on my iPad because those were the things that actually put my brain to work. That's what my brain was like. Oh, I got to find this fucking picture on this thing. It could be so stupid. I'm looking for a hairbrush in the fairy castle, But my brain actually had a job to do. And so my brain was then not capable of thinking about all of the other stuff, which is actually like a mind-blowing kind of a fact. You would think that your brain would be able to multitask and think about several things at once. But we can only actually do that because we can be on autopilot, because there's so much of our day that we can do without needing to think about it. We're just going through the motions that we have gone through every day before that. Like I said, we're just, So when your brain is focused on something, actually focused and having to figure things out, like try cooking a new recipe. Yeah, you cook a new recipe, you're stuck to the friggin' recipe thing. And you can't just like throw stuff together. It seems to take for every time I cook a new recipe, I'm aggravated because dinner is like so easy. We make the same stuff. And so it's like easy. I don't really have to think about it. But damn it, when I do, I'm like, oh my gosh, this shit's like taking forever. And you feel like kind of, I can't do this, Or I have to go back and read everything like a million times before it like sinks in there, I swear. But, that just really goes to show again, you're on autopilot. As soon as you have to think about something, your brain's busy. So if you're struggling with anxiety or panic or just overthinking in general, give your brain a job to do. You're going to feel 1,000,000% better. 1,000,000% better. But anyway, back to the ownership parts of feeling like crap, right? Or allowing yourself to feel like crap. It's really important to me. And I do, like I preach these things all the time. If you're someone who's trying to be positive all the time, good luck. That's not normal life. Your negative emotions are valuable. And how many people walk around like, oh, don't be negative. We got to be positive all the time. Bullshit. You don't have to be positive all the time. You know why? Because we're human beings. We're human beings who were born and gifted a wide range of emotions because every single one of them is actually useful. And we don't want to get stuck in a negative space. So that is very important. Like, we don't want to get stuck in those, more negative emotions. We don't want to get stuck in fear. We don't want to get stuck in anger. We don't want to get stuck in sadness or grief or shame or guilt. We don't want to get stuck in those places. However, feeling guilt, if you've done something wrong, you're going to feel guilty. Well, I can't say that that's wrong. I mean, that shows that you have a moral compass. We should feel guilty for doing something wrong. Now, if you're feeling guilty for not doing anything wrong, now you have a problem. So if you're someone who's carrying around a bunch of guilt, then this is where the awareness comes in. Why am I feeling guilty for XYZ? What about this makes me feel guilty? Should I feel guilty for this? If you should not feel guilty for something that you're feeling guilty about, well, then you kind of have to look at that and figure that out. Like me, I have a thing, I feel guilty all the time. Like if I do something for myself and my family's not included in that, or if, so I have 2 kids at home. I have 3 kids total, but the one is grown. So I have 2 kids at home and me and my husband. Yesterday, me and my oldest son went out shopping. We went to Sam's Club, went out to lunch, went to a bunch of different places. And my other son was with his friends. He was supposed to be going and doing a bunch of stuff. So normally, like, because Morgan couldn't come with us for lunch, like, I would actually feel guilty, like, man, we're going to eat at one of Morgan's favorite places and he's not here. I don't want him, I don't know, I just feel guilty about that. And it's so stupid, right? So yesterday, like I said, he was going to be with all of his friends and all the stuff was going on. So I didn't feel so guilty about it. And lo and behold, that little sucker calls me after we eat, and they didn't go and do the things that they were going to do, and he actually wound up coming home early. And so all of a sudden the guilt rushes in. Now I have to be aware of that, because when it's so stupid, he was with his friends doing his own thing. I should not feel guilty about that, but I do. So now it's my job to figure out why. This is very irrational. So I'm carrying around a pattern of guilt for something that I don't even know, but I do it all the time. Right. So we just have to have this honesty. I have a pattern going, an emotional pattern. I don't know why yet. I really have not figured it out. I've not gotten to the bottom of it. It really hit me yesterday. And it's because I live in this state of awareness, truly. Like I'm listening to myself constantly. My brain is like a radio station that I'm tuning into always. Like what's going on in here, because it's going to show me basically what I'm doing. It's going to alert me to why I'm feeling a certain kind of, or that I am feeling a certain kind of a way. Again, it's going to mess up my hormones. I'm 44 years old. My hormones are jacked enough on their own. It does not need help. My hormones do not need help being crazy. So if we're stuck in these patterns, it's not good. If you're carrying around shame, these are some of the lowest of the lows, like shame and guilt. Ooh, those are some really low vibrating emotional states. They really are. So a lot of people get trapped into the cycle of shame and guilt. Now, there's definitely a generational kind of a component to that, but it has definitely eked its way into like today, right? So like this guilt and shame. People born in like the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s. I've made this like, I observe so much when I'm working with people. And so this is just like another one of those observational things that I had years and years ago. This is honestly probably one of my first bodies of work within my actual work, where I started noticing how women who were built in those times, the 40s, 50s, 60s, 50s, 60s, for the most part, 70s, were literally raised in this guilt, shame, and embarrassment kind of mentality. It was so like normal for that time. Everything was like, well, the generations before that, the early 1900s, 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, that you had the keeping up the appearance that everything was fantastic, and the guilt, shame, and embarrassment. If you didn't do things by the normal standards of society in any of those generations, you were jacked up and you were made to feel really friggin' bad about yourself, right? You were made to feel really, really bad about it. If, let's say that you were unhappy in your marriage in the 1980s or the 1990s or the 70s or whatever, you were made to feel really bad about yourself. It was not good. whatever, if you were a woman wearing pants. I mean, there were so many just stupid things that went along with that, but truly it was pretty much normal life. If you didn't toe the line of society standards of norm, you were shamed and you were guilted back into line for the most part. And like I said, the generations before that had the keeping up the appearance of normal. That one just really kills me, man. Everything was swept under the rug for those generations. Like your family, you could have had like, I don't know, major alcoholism and I don't know, abuse or whatever happening on the inside of the home, right? But to the outer world, you kept those things a secret. It was all very, it was just kept under wraps so much. So people just got the, everything's great. There's nothing wrong here and whatever, right? And so that started to relax a little bit with the generation next to them, like I said, that 50s, 60s, 70s, but not quite. And then we move into the generations of today, and now we're made to feel guilty because we have certain beliefs, or they try to shame us because we don't agree with this. Like there are so many pushes right now to actually mess with your emotions. It's not good. I mean, I'm really struggling with this. So it's like, oh, you don't agree with this. You don't want, I don't know. It's just we're it's our emotions are under attack in a sense where we're being made to feel bad about our beliefs, about our morals, about our judgments, about, decisions that we've made for ourselves or decisions that we've made for our kids. It's a trippy kind of a something. You've got to really watch. You got to really watch. You do get to feel however you want to feel about things. You do get to have an opinion. And I don't know. There's this, like, I know that a lot of the things that I just disagree with, on a whole, like I said, I'm being made to feel like there's an outside force that's trying to make me feel bad about disagreeing with certain things. So, again, if you do have your own beliefs and your own brain and your own whatever, and you like to, keep those things, you have the right to your emotions and your opinions and your beliefs. Don't allow those things to be swayed because someone is telling you to. It's very dangerous territory. Anyway, back to the generational things. These, people born in those times, they have these emotions that are very set into guilt, shame, and embarrassment. It was like quite literally beat into them. I mean, basically, if you didn't go by society standards and norms, you just got your ass beat. So it really sunk in and it gripped a whole lot of people, and they've carried those emotions for decades. And then every little thing that happens in their life brings them directly to shame. Oh, this didn't work out. They're carrying tremendous amounts of shames. Oh, that didn't work out. I feel guilty. All that stuff. It's like this pattern that is repeating over and over and over in their lifetime. Only because somebody else told them to be. Again, feel guilty if you've done something wrong, to feel guilty about it. You should repent, and be over it with. You're going to mess up. I mean, life. So like feeling guilty forever about something that you've done is just so counterproductive. A lot of people do it. Why? Again, it was kind of beat into them just a little bit. Absolutely. And so being aware of that, you can shift out of those patterns, shift out, and it's going to make you feel a lot better. Embarrassment's the same way. Guilt, shame, embarrassment, those kind of all work together on the same level, the same way. We can get stuck in fear, and then again, like that fear brings you in that anxiety yuck pattern. You can get stuck in anger. That is not good. Anger is one of the most productive negative emotions that there are. Anger is not bad. When you're stuck in anger and you're living in anger, well, now it gets bad. So like feeling angry about something actually helps you to blow off steam, and you're going to blow off some chemicals, and you're going to actually feel better at the end of it. But man, if you're holding on to it, now you become bitter, and now you become, like, I guess rageful. Rage and anger would be two completely different things. However, like you could see how anger could build into rage, right? That's kind of like anger would be that that little starting point and then turns into rage. It's not good. But anger, anger is something that allows us to get shit out. So something that I have people do all the time, I call it hate, mail, and burn. It's one of my favorite practices. And I say it this way because it's just fun. You're going to write a letter to anyone who has ever pissed in your Wheaties. I don't care if that's like your mom, if that's your ex, if that's one of your kids, if that's whatever. And you're going to burn it. We do not give hate mail away. It's fantastic practice. Did somebody at work do something and you're just holding on to an incredible amount of anger and you kind of can't move on from that spot, you're going to write it down, write them a letter. I mean, at the end of it, it's usually a book. People who say like, oh, I don't really write. I'm not good at that. And then like they get done with the hate mail. It's like 20 pages long because they were like, and then blah, blah, blah. They're just like going crazy with stupid hate mail. And then just burn it. Burn it as that like release or shred it, rip it up, do whatever you can to just kind of get rid of it. The purpose of doing that is to allow yourself to be angry, allow yourself to emote. How often do we stuff emotions down and we really don't deal with them? Again, it's counterproductive. You get to feel angry at people for doing certain things. You get to feel angry at God because XYZ happened. You get to feel angry at your neighbor because he keeps letting his dog crap in your yard. Whatever. You get to be angry about those things. We don't want to start like World War III over it. We want to be able to get along with our neighbors, like that would be fantastic. However, it's okay to be angry. Again, it's okay to feel guilty. It's okay to feel shameful for a moment, but then be able to laugh at yourself. Usually shame is one of those things where, again, like if we want this appearance of perfection about ourselves and I couldn't possibly be so messed up. I'm ashamed that I did this or thought this or whatever. You're human, so you're always gonna do things. You're always gonna have embarrassing moments. You're always gonna make decisions that you're not proud of. You have those things, and those experiences have always been catalysts to be better. It's like the good shit show for me is all about being better tomorrow. Why? Because life is hard and we do suck. We do. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with being a human being and doing stupid shit. When it gets wrong is when we're not trying to fix those things. That's what I think. So like I said, if we're living in this constant state of anger and that's what again, your brain is going to make all those chemicals just kind of make you feel angry all the time. And then that anger is going to seep out to the people around you. You're going to take it out on the people around you. They're going to feel it. That's going to keep people away from you. They're going to be aggravated. It really just creates this like vicious, nasty cycle. And it's not fun. It's just not. So like I said, start with that space of awareness. Live in that space of awareness. Know how you're feeling. Truly, I think that, like we take that for granted. How often do you check in on yourself? How often do you actually, look at those negative emotions as gifts and signs? If you're not feeling good, something's wrong. That's just how it goes. So if you're not feeling good about something, you know that something's wrong. What are you going to do about it? Try to get down to the bottom of it. Now you have to be aware of more and more and more. Why am I feeling that way? What is going on? So listen to your brain. It is so important. I really cannot stress that enough. Pay attention to that right there. Your brain starts everything, and then that feeling is generated by whatever it is that you're thinking about. Embrace the negative emotions. Don't walk around having to feel good 24/7. Don't do that to yourself. All of this, light and love stuff, it's only going to get you so far. And there's nothing wrong with light and love stuff. Like, I'm not trying to, demonize those terms. I'm definitely not trying to take away from their goodness. But damn it, it's a fallacy. You can't walk around all light and love every day, all day. You can't do it. These affirmations that I see people do, I've talked about this a million times. Affirmations, like you're sitting around feeling like crap. Money's my favorite example of this, but like you're sitting around feeling like crap about money and you're doing this mirror work. You're saying these affirmations. Money flows easily and abundantly into my life, right? Well, you got a stack of bills piling up. You know, you got to buy some food. Your kid needs new shoes. Your car's making a funky noise and you got to get it in, but you got to pay the mortgage and the lights and the water. It's like you're looking in the mirror saying that affirmation, money flows easily and abundantly into my life. What a load of bullshit. Money is not flowing easily. You're not feeling friggin' abundant. And there ain't no words strong enough to flip that. You know, affirmations are fantastic to a point. That is so unrealistic. Saying that affirmation is not going to flip your switch on money. That's not going to do it. I mean, it's really not. Like taking steps. Like, first of all, being aware of what are my money insecurities? Have I had them for a while? A lot of people feel shitty about money, and they have money. I run into that all the time. People have an insecurity about money and they have money. They're worried about not having enough. There is a fear that they have about money, even though they have a money pile sitting there and they're able to pay their bills and whatever. To the people who are struggling with money, I've been there, done that, robbing Peter to pay Paul, paycheck to paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. But you know what? We always made it. There was never a time that we didn't make it. You definitely take some comfort in that. And I did have to switch my perspective on money to allow myself to make more money. There's a lot to be said for those things. Like, you know, you do have to do some inner work on money and how that flows. But people mess it up with is all trying to be positive all the time about something that they feel like shit about. And you're not going to get anywhere. That is not what you're going to do because it's the feeling. So I'm saying all of these words. I'm sugarcoating shit with words and it doesn't work. So I'm saying, oh, money flows easily and abundantly into my life. And again, it wasn't. And so saying those words, I'm saying it. Oh man, sounds so freaking positive. All my insides are dying. Fuck. My kids need shoes. He's got a hole in his shoes. I can't buy shoes until, 2 paychecks away at least because, well, that's when I might have a little bit of extra money that payday. That's what you're thinking about. It didn't feel good. Money didn't feel good. So the actual truth about how you get to better spaces with things is that you really truly try to find a way to feel good about money or to feel good about relationships or to feel good about, well, whatever you feel like shit about. But genuinely, not sugarcoating shit with words. Don't do it. Words, nothing. Words mean nothing. You're literally spewing just it's just word vomit, right? We use that term all the time. It's like words are word vomit. You're just spewing words out of your mouth all day long. It's all about the feeling. Everything is about how you feel. So if you can elevate into a better feeling space, well, you're going to elevate that situation. You're going to start to shift that situation. And that's going to happen externally because, again, whatever it is that you're feeling gets pushed out. And life responds to how you feel. So if you're walking around feeling anxious or feeling angry or whatever, you're going to notice that the people around you are probably assholes in a sense. Like they're going to pick up on your vibe. They're going to soak it in. It's going to shift how they're feeling because, we're sharing the love all the time. You're like literally walking through a cesspool of, you're walking through like this cesspool of vibes every day, all day. You think about that, like everywhere that you go, you're literally all up in everyone else's junk. Ugh. Sometimes that's a really great thing. Sometimes that is not so fun. It's not so fun. So again, when you're pushing stuff out there, but in a true sense, so this is where, like I said, words, nothing. Shift the feeling. It shifts the reality. Every time it's true. And it's like little by little by little. If you're struggling if there's particular areas that you're struggling with, I do not recommend even starting at those places. It would not be my go-to. My go-to would be to let myself feel like a bucket of crap about that and then start to feel good about other things, right? And shift things there just a little bit. And then I can start diving in little by little and pick apart, the things that I don't feel good about. I have a money thing. So I'm actually an 8 numerologically, which is all about power and abundance. So I legit came to Earth with a money thing, if you believe in numerology. And I do. I found numerology to be spectacularly accurate. And so Missy Hart was born with the money thing. So I'm born with it. I kind of came here with it. And then I dropped out of school. I was a waitress, like living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. We had my husband was just out of college when we, got married and had kids and all that stuff. And so he was entry level positions. Money was not flowing easily, and we struggled our asses off. We did. And that was just feeding my already, funky self in that department. And so I kept on putting it out there and putting it out there and putting it out there because I was freaking out. So the universe responded, oh, bitch, you're broke. Broke. Worried about money? Oh, here's this. Worried about money? Oh, another one. And another one, another bill, another car repair, another doctor's visit, another 4 medications to get your kid through this bacterial infection. All of these things just kept on going and going and going. And I had to eventually figure out, again, I'm creating so much of my money issue. Can you believe it? Like how I was responsible for my money issue. I held a deep-seated belief that I could not be successful. Why? Because I wasn't a college graduate. Oh, I didn't have any skills. As if talking to dead people and being a psychic were not skills. But I had no belief in myself that I could actually do those things for a living. Came out of my mouth all the time. Well, this could never be a full-time gig. I actually heard it one day. I mean, I heard those words coming out of my mouth and I was like, whoa, why can't I do it? Other people are doing it. Why can't I, do that? And I had no good answer. I had no good answer for why I couldn't do it. I just said it. Nobody told me I couldn't do it. I hadn't tried and failed. I just, I didn't even try. You just didn't even do it. I just kept on saying those words. Oh, this could never be a full-time thing. So it was my awareness of that allowed me to sit with it for a while. Now, I didn't shift out of that like particularly quickly, I will say. So there's a lot of work because it is a habit essentially to think that way. I'd been thinking that way for decades at that point. So I didn't like break a decades old habit in like the blink of an eye. Now, I don't think these things have to be like super long and drawn out. You don't need 20 years to fix everything. So I do think that shifts happen relatively quickly. As soon as you're aware of it, you can start to shift it. But damn, you're going to backpedal. You're going to backpedal all the time. You're going to land right back where you started. I was talking about like last week, I had read every self-help book. I went to every conference in a certain mile radius. I went and learned with people, and I took, courses, and I did all of these things. I read all the books, did the mirror work. I did all these things, and I could not get myself out of the cycles where I sucked the most. Why? Because I would start it, and then my brain would be like, man, this isn't normal. It's what we normally do. And so my brain just went back to like normal, everyday Missy Hart stuff. That's what my brain did. We are creatures of habit. And so we just do the same things over and over and over again. So if we start to shake things up, we start to pay attention, we're aware, we notice something. Oh man, now we get to do something about it. And we just start doing things a little bit differently. I heard that thought in my head that actually said, oh, you can never do this full time. And it finally just got me, well, why is that true? And so I was able to just kind of start like saying, well, it's kind of a load of bullshit. You could at least try, to do something like that. You could ask for help, you could pray, and you could say, hey, I noticed that I feel this way, and I noticed that I'm totally self-sabotaging my ass. Can you help me not do that? There's so many different things that you could do, but the awareness is everything, and your emotions is what's supposed to get you there. I had a very negative emotion around money, around success, around all of these things. I put these incredible limits on myself based on other people's beliefs, based on other people's experiences. The world was telling me, oh, you're not a college educated person, Missy. You can't have success. You can't have money. You didn't go to college. And I had to eventually say, well, man, there's a whole lot of people who didn't go to college who are successful. That's a load of bullshit. I had to tell myself, well, damn, you got a skill that not a whole lot of people have. You could probably use that, dummy. Oh, yeah, that is true. So to say that I didn't have a skill or that I wasn't educated, well, that was a load of crap. I totally had skills, very different skills, but I had skills. So I had this belief that I was going to be limited forever because, again, I was a dropout, not a college grad. I was going to be doomed to waitressing and bartending forever, which waitressing was good money most of the time, but when it wasn't, it wasn't. You know, like you enter in a time right now where inflation is way up there. Waitresses are hurting. Tip them extra when you go. I mean, this is like a time where people are struggling and, well, their cost of living went up too. Not as many people can afford to eat out as much. So I lived through, I was a waitress through the recession after 9/11, and all that stuff that happened with that. And so I watched my wages go way down. That didn't help. True. My thoughts, my beliefs, how I felt about things, man, they wreak havoc. And again, your emotions are basically your guidance system there. Right? If something's not feeling good, pay attention. Just pay attention. It's telling you something. It's a communication. Believe it or not, it's funny because it's actually how dead people talk. We'll wrap this up this way. This is how dead people talk to us. Dead people talk to us by impressing us with feelings, with thoughts, with impressions, with personalities. I can't hear their voice. They don't have a physical voice anymore, but they do have all of those feels still, right? So like they will send an emotion my way. If you're ever like thinking about your loved one, and you get like really emotional because they're passed away, there's a good chance that they sent that to you. And the emotion is because they're close. It's very possible. If you are carrying around negative emotions, and I guarantee you are, embrace them. Learn from them. Do not allow yourself to get sucked into the light and love pappy crap, because it is pappy crap. Now, do feel light and love in every single place that you can. You should definitely accentuate those light and love pieces. So if there is something that brings you intense joy or intense gratitude or whatever, is actually what you want to use to get out of whatever other funk you're in. So love and light for sure. Push that shit out to things. There have been, like intentions and prayers and all that stuff. When you're sending good energy someone's way or some place's way, that the world is a giant shit show right now. Send good vibes out to the world, please. Everybody needs to do that. If we all did that, we would honestly spur a movement on. It's true. Good things would have to show up. If you're sending out prayers and good thoughts and vibes to people, because they're going through something or because they're just on your mind for whatever, that stuff carries, just like your vibes carry out. So those things do ride the waves and make it to people. Put all that light and love out there. We need it. But don't pretend to feel light and love about something that you feel super shitty about. It truly is a waste of time and energy. And don't feel bad about feeling bad. Now, again, figure out why you're feeling bad and shift. A lot of the times, just simple shifts. That's all you got to do. And you're going to watch your life change relatively quick. Once that ball is rolling and once you're looking at things different, once you're looking at things, once you're looking at things and when you start to allow yourself to shift that perspective and you're getting down to the whys a little bit, you don't have to waste, like I said, you could be 75 years old and it's not going to take you 75 years old to get out of all of the crap that you've been carrying around. You can do it relatively quick by, again, being aware, allowing yourself to understand why it's there, and then honestly, you're going to move into a simple place of acceptance. This is the end right here, acceptance. To allow yourself to feel whatever you need to feel about a situation. If you need to be angry for a little bit, do the hate mail thing. Burn it, get rid of it, get it out of your brain and out of your body, and then just bump up into this space of acceptance where you're not feeling good about stuff in a space of acceptance. You're just accepting that this is what it is. Well, this happened. This is who this person was. This is how they acted. This were their beliefs. It has nothing to do with me. I did this. I made this mistake. Oops, I accept it. I fucked up. Oops, oh darn. You know, so that space of acceptance is just a very neutral kind of a zone. Oh, is what it is. Accept. Right there. We don't have to go to, oh, I love it that I did all of these things. I love it that these bad things happened. You know, I've been able to make it there. I am so grateful for my bad moments because, damn, I'm telling you, they've been they've been the biggest gifts of my lifetime. But I truly feel that. That's not words coming out of my mouth. That is I've had so many moments where I can look at those things and go, holy shit, these were life changing. And without them, I would not be where I am right now. I would not think this way. I would not believe this way. I wouldn't have the people around me. I wouldn't have had this opportunity, this experience. So I've made it to a space where, damn, I really can look at those things and I cannot help but to be grateful for the worst moments of my life because they bore so many gifts. You can get there eventually. You're not going to start there though, right? All right. So like I said, awareness, anger, acceptance. To me, those are like your mains. Start to see it, be aware of it, allow yourself to feel negative emotion if you need to, and then accept. And you're going to be gold. You're going to feel so much better. All right, guys, that is it. That is it for this Friday's Good Shit Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will be back next week. I don't know. I'm toying with the idea of every other week. Anyway, I am working on guests and I do have some people lined up. So pretty soon we are going to be having conversations with other people. And I cannot wait for that, honestly. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are going to have lots of good shit conversations. All right, so make sure that you guys are checking out the WLTK-DB website. And pretty soon you're going to be able to find this in the App Store, and you're going to be able to download the app for WLTK-DB. That is very exciting. Todd, our producer, has been doing, well, some incredible work behind the scenes, and so we've got a lot coming up. Make sure that you are checking out all of the other shows on this website. There are so many good ones. You just kind of can't go wrong. Something for everyone. All right, guys, till next week, have a good one. Be aware, be aware, be aware of every single thing that you are thinking, if at all possible. It is the most life-changing practice that there is. Embrace your emotions, truly all of them, and know that they've been put in your way to grab your attention. Do not feel bad about feeling bad. We will see you next week.